Welcome, friends, to a new Over the Board Road to Class B. Um, I'm Nick Sloan. I hope that you guys are having a great day. This is essentially the round two of the early summer Swiss at my chess club, where I have the black pieces, and I went for a Caro-Kann. Um, Opening, my opponent played the London, which I'm quite familiar with, but we get into some interesting lines that I wasn't really familiar with. So we start d4, c6, and bishop to f4, and then d5, which is pretty standard. I don't know if this is book. I haven't really done a lot of the book information in the Caro-Kann yet, so I'm starting to look at it. Apparently, it is something that it's marked as the Queen Pawns opening, and it progresses through. So he played the normal move e3, and I developed my bishop to c5. I like to have that outside of my pawns here. It's a little bit easier. Sometimes things can transpose into some sort of French and things like that, and I like to have that bishop out here. It's a lot nicer. He continued on with knight to f3, and here I spent some time. I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue my development or actually just bring the pawn up. I thought about developing here. The best move is knight to f6, but the second best move is e6. So I think you can play either one. I don't think one is better than the other. I was wanting to consider preparing, depending on what he did with his c8 bishop here, I was considering queen to b6 and then c5 and then knight to c6. This here, and this here. So to, kind of undermine this pawn here, but game didn't end up doing that. So he moved knight to b to d2, and this is pretty normal. I challenged his bishop. The interesting move here is the engine wants to take knight to e5 is also best. You could probably go with either one. I'm typically used to dropping the bishop back. However, that's better for black in this particular instance with this move order. So he did play the best move of knight to e5. And here I had some struggles. The move I played was h5. Now, I don't know that that's best, but the move that the engine likes seems to be knight to e7. Actually, if I let it sit for a minute, it actually likes f6 best, but to me that seems not smart playing, honestly. It likes, no, not this. It likes this line here. But I don't quite understand the reasoning. I mean, it's obviously expanding on the king side and kind of pushing my bishop back to g6 and opening up these types of things. So my pawn structure is kind of ruined. I get that positionally, but it's interesting. I still played knight to, actually no, that's not what I did. I played h5 here. I didn't want his queen coming in here or doing any kind of tricky things when I bring my bishop back. I also created a space on h7 for my bishop. That was my plan and idea anyways. So that was the whole idea behind that particular line. Whether or not that's right or wrong, it thinks that, I mean, it's pretty even. Obviously the evaluation bar is favorable for white right now, but He played h3, obviously, I think making a spot for his bishop and taking away the g4 square from my bishop or a knight potentially. And here I just played a normal developing move, knight to f6. I don't believe that's my best line though, now that I'm looking at it. It actually likes g5 best. Straight away, just expand and push the bishop back to h2. I never, to be honest with you, I didn't actually even consider this as an option, though now that I'm looking at it, that would be, you know, I'm equal, so I've obviously equalized at this point, but I played a normal developing move. Now, here he played bishop to e2. I think he was thinking about trying to attack my pawn, but not realizing that it's covered by, you know, the knight and the rook. I think he was trying to maybe consider other plans like this, but I don't think any of them really work. I have too many pieces on those squares. So I'm not exactly sure what his plan was. I think he probably should have just I think he was just getting ready to castle, and I moved knight to b7. Now, obviously, the engine does not like that move, clearly because of the next things that were happening. I did not catch this over the board. This was clearly a poor move. The move that the engine likes best is either queen to c7 or bishop to c7. If I let it sit longer, it also tries queen to e7. Those are some ideas. Or actually bishop takes the knight. So those are a couple of the lines that it seems to like. At this point, we're already way out of the opening, so I was not expecting the next move. So I moved this, and this was clearly not a favorable because it's 2 points to white, mainly for the next move that I did not see. And he took right here. And I thought for a little while, I have to look at my book. Did I actually mark times? I did not mark any times, so I'm not sure how long I sat thinking about this. And I thought for a while about this next move too, because I also considered queen to b6 as well, but I don't know if that's good or bad. Yeah, it doesn't like that either. Yeah, it really doesn't like that, actually. It likes that worse than, mainly because you lose. That's why you take your protection of the bishop away. Okay, so I move here. The idea being this piece is hanging. So when you take and take, now I've lost a pawn, which in my class level is not too bad. It's easy to get that pawn back. However, obviously this was not well played by me. I'm not used to playing the Caro-Kann. I am used to playing against the London, so I know some of his ideas and themes, which kind of helped me out somewhat. However, this was obviously not ideal for me as a Caro-Kann player. So I continued with my best option, which I thought was actually attacking the pawn that's not protected right here. And the best move here is to castle, but he chose to, my idea was to actually move my pawn to c5 and then attack the bishop, and then potentially if he decides to trade, take back, and then it's back to an even game. So that was the idea. I was thinking that he was going to castle here. His bishop is safe, or actually even move knight to f3. The engine for him likes a4 best, but also castle works. So I was thinking of something like this. And then yeah, I've obviously gotten my pawn back. It's still not favorable for me. It's still, you know, 2 points to white, but that was kind of where my head was at when I made queen to c6 or b6. But here he moved bishop to a3, protecting his pawn, which I thought was kind of odd, but he's cutting this whole way down on my king. So I'm really weak on the dark squares because I don't have a dark squared bishop. So it kind of makes sense. I'm preparing c5. The engine here, I believe, it still likes g5. It likes g5 best. Interesting. Or queen back to c7. So I was a little overzealous making that move. Did actually like... Where's the evaluation at? We're at 175. It does like rook a to e8 or rook a to g8, trying to obviously expand on the king side, hoping that he's going to castle. My move is not a stellar move, but it's not necessarily a bad move. It seems to be better for white at this point. Yeah, I had ideas. I was hoping that he was going to kind of continue development. He doesn't seem to want to castle. I'm not sure why. I think that he wants to castle actually queenside because he's delayed it so long, with the idea of pushing all his pawns in front of, you know, my king. Yeah, because I'm kind of wide open. I'm not protected. I could castle manually, but this pawn could get weak. There's some potential threats with these guys here. The bishop coming to a5 with check. I have it pretty defended, but I am a little loose, which makes me a little nervous. So I believe he's considering coming in here with the knight, or even here. When I talked to him and we looked at the game after the fact, he did talk about bringing in his knight, but he said that he couldn't continue with any type of follow-up, so it was pretty much just a one move attack. So for me, I was kind of protecting him coming here. I was afraid of this move, but I thought to myself, if he does move there, I still have king to g8, or even king to e8, and I think I'm still fine at this point. I didn't want to move to f8. I think it was just a bad square to be on, or I can't move to f8 anyways because of the bishop, obviously. But yeah, I was scared of a lot of things, so I brought my queen back to c7, preventing him from coming in here. So if he does come here, I can actually win my pawn back, and then it looks like it's favorable for me, which I was hoping he would do that, but he did not do that. Instead, he moved rook to c1. I believe, obviously preparing c4, with the idea of either pushing or trying to take. And I decided to expand on the queen side. I was going to just push my pawns and try to gain as much space as possible. I'm weak on the black squares, so my idea was to then push a5 and then b4 to undermine the bishop. And I think he saw this and moved here, and his next move was a blunder, and I capitalized on it. I'm not sure if you can see the win here, but queen to a5 is pretty good, and I found that move over the board, and he decided to block, and I took his bishop. And at this point he resigned, because now I'm a full piece ahead, and trying to come back from that just was going to be a difficult game for him. I've gotten my piece back, and it was a difficult game. I'm not sure exactly what I was supposed to do here. So bishop f4 is still opening. Knight f3 is opening. e6 is still part of the opening, it looks like. knight b to d2, and here I moved bishop to d6. That is the second most played move, and it does seem to be favorable for me. 60% of the time it is good for a draw, and then 40% is a win for black, at least in the database here on chess.com. His next move is still part of book, which puts it down to now there's a draw. So if I move knight to f6, it's a one game in the database for white, and then f6 is a draw. So I think this is kind of where I deviated, and obviously I didn't. Yeah, h5 is probably not a really good move here. It worked out for me in the game, but I think against a stronger opponent it wouldn't do very well, most likely. Since it does give some evaluation points to white, I don't think it's a completely bad move, but I don't think it's obviously not part of theory. And h6 is actually a move the engine seems to like. So h5 was probably just a little bit far, and I think I probably might have had a better game doing that. But interesting. So yeah, here we're now at that move right there. So was, move 6 was out of book at this point, so now we're pretty much out of theory. I was not familiar with this knight sacrifice here. I don't know a lot of those themes in the London because I don't play that part of the London typically. So I was not prepared for that particular move at all. And this was probably my worst move of the game, which was knight b to d7, because obviously the evaluation just takes a pretty big turn after that because I now gave up a bishop and a pawn. So for a knight, it definitely was not a good move. So the move here was probably queen to c7 is probably a better line, it seems, at least when I'm looking at it from the engine. So yeah, it was a good game. I mean, as we progressed through the rest of the game, I was able to defend pretty decently, I think. This is obviously luck. He hung a piece, so this game could have went on for a while. Unfortunately, in the class C and Class B, people are still hanging pieces. I'm still hanging pieces and causing blunders, so it's something that definitely happens. But I was able to capitalize on this game. A question for you guys: do you guys like to see it from my point of view as I'm looking at the board, so black on the bottom if I'm black and white on the bottom if I'm white, or do you like to just look at it with white on the bottom and black on top all the time? I'd like to know your thoughts. Please leave some comments down below. Let me know how you thought I played this particular opening. Obviously I don't, you guys saw my issues. I think we found out what the issues were, which was allowing that kind of move right there. I think it might have just been better to maybe castle here is also another viable option. However, we're giving up this pawn here. We could probably consider the g5 to be a better move, potentially. Maybe not here. Maybe here. A move back, and this would have been pretty good, I think. But an interesting game. Let me know your thoughts. It's good to have a win coming back. This opponent was actually more than 100 points ahead of me when it comes to rating. So he was 1529. I'm sitting at 1425, I think, right now. So it was nice to get a win for somebody that was over 100 points ahead of me, which was really nice. So I feel like I'm going in the right direction. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear your comments. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching, everybody, and take care and be safe.